Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. We are going to be taking a look at the anime Darling the Franxx, which had, as of the recording of this in 2022, only has one season that released back in 2018. So at this point, it's about 4 years old. So I feel it's safe to spoil the show a little bit, in a way, if you haven't seen it. It's on Crunchyroll, so it's not like you have no excuse to see it, because it's been out for so long now that there's really no excuse. The show takes place in the future, where pretty much the only reason why people, or I guess parasites as they're called, they don't have names, but they have code names, which are essentially just a series of numbers. Like, one of the main characters is 016, and another one, 02. She's one of the main characters as well. But the character 016, he kind of gave him and his small friend group sort of nicknames. So he's Hiro, and there's a couple of other ones. Ichigo is another one, and so on and so forth. They just kind of have names sort of related to their personalities or their code names or whatever. So they're just in this group, and they pilot mech robots called Franxx, with 2 X's at the end. And so they're partnered up in male-female groups of 2, and that's pretty much the only reason why there are male and female, is so they can partner up and pilot these mech robots. And it's sort of it's an interesting anime. It's a romance anime. These characters, they fall in love, and they don't really know what love is, because they were never brought up with it, because love as the concept as we know it is completely different. They have no need to, like I said, the only reason why 2 people pair up is because they need 2 people, one male, one female, to pilot these robots into battle. And they don't that's the only thing that they've ever known in their lives, is you wake up, you pilot a robot, you eat, and you go to bed, and then you redo the whole thing the next day, the same thing next day. And that's your entire life. Is just, you wake up, you pilot these robots in a battle, and then you go to bed. Essentially is the whole thing that they've ever known. And they start sort of getting, like, they start asking questions like, what's love, what's a relationship, all that stuff. And it kind of goes, and then 2 of the main characters end up falling in love and decide to get married, and then they get napped, they get taken away from their group, from the life that they've always known in this happy moment, and they get their memories wiped. So, because again, the only thing that these people are used for is pilots for these robots. So the end of the show, I'm going to skip a whole lot of stuff, because like I said, it's been 4 years since the show's out, or at least 4 or 5 years since the show has come out. 4 years since the show has finished. So the end of the show, the last few episodes, the characters Zero Two and Ichigo blast themselves off into space to try to defeat the final boss. And within doing so, they become closer to each other than they ever have been in the past, because Hiro and Zero Two blast themselves off into space and to try to defeat the final boss. And they do it. They defeat the final boss, and everyone's sort of waiting for their triumphant return back to Earth. But 8 years pass and nothing. Because what they don't know is that in defeating the final boss, Hiro and Zero Two sacrifice their own lives. They go so hard at the final boss that they die, essentially, is what happens. So they promise to always be together and to find each other in the next life. And there's a tree. This is where this is kind of, if you've seen the ending of Attack on Titan or read the ending of Attack on Titan, you'll notice a lot of similarities between the two animes, or the two series. There's a tree where, because when Zero Two was like trapped in space, but her body was on Earth, like her mind was still up in space, and that's why Hiro blasted himself off into space to go get her and bring her back. So there was like sort of a petrified version of Zero Two on Earth, and I guess from what I remember, there was a tree that was planted sort of near her petrified statue of a body, and over the years the tree grew, and then at the very final few seconds of the show, we see a pink-haired girl and a little boy who slightly kind of has a somewhat resemblance to Hiro, kind of playing around the tree. And that is how the show ends. And that is unfortunately where the similarities between Attack on Titan and the Darling in the Franxx end. Now, comparing the two series, how they both end with about 1,000 years passing between when the main characters die and the tree, the final scene of the series. I think Darling in the Franxx did it better, to be honest. It was a little less obscure than when Attack on Titan did it, in my personal opinion. A little less obscure, a little more like concrete, like, alright, this is actual. Basically, I felt like Darling in the Franxx ending gave me more closure than the Attack on Titan ending. Not that Attack on Titan was bad. I didn't fully hate the way that one ended, but it's just, I feel like in terms of a good ending, I feel like Attack on Titan's ending was a little more subpar than Darling in the Franxx. Yeah, it's sort of a cheap way to end a series, but what are you gonna do, really? I mean, it was a good show. It was an outstanding show. I think I rated it a 9 out of 10, which is very good. I enjoyed it. I'd watch it again if there's ever an English dub of the show. I would totally watch the English dub. I'd watch it again regardless, though, because it's that good of a show. I enjoyed it that much. So, closing thoughts. If you're looking for a new sort of action, romance, comedy, sort of, well, not really a comedy, it's more of an action romance, anime. I would highly recommend Darling in the Franxx. Excuse me, it's very good, very entertaining. You'll be sucked in. At least I was sucked in to the show, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I stick to my guns of giving it a 9 out of 10 rating because I feel like it was that good. And if there's ever a season 2, I don't know where they're going to go from season 2 or with a season 2. I would be happy with like a spiritual successor to Darling in the Franxx. Not necessarily an official season 2, but a spiritual successor would be very nice. So with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.